Greetings, everybody. This is, I think, is going to be probably the greatest episode of Marquis TV. We have got, without a doubt, the most famous guest in winemaking world here today, John Duval, who is head winemaker for Penfolds for 29 years.
I worked for Penfolds for 29 years,
Yep.
but I was chief winemaker from '86 to 2002.
Long enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And Mark Shipway, who teaches the WSET.
Yeah, the Wine Spirit Education
Wine Spirit Education Trust.
And French Wine Society.
And French Wine Society in Vancouver. And we're tasting John's wines from Australia. Now, John was responsible for making Grange, RW. He launched, RWT was his idea. But we're not here to talk about Penfolds. We're here to talk about Australian wines. And one of the things that irks the crap out of me is that Australian wines have been tainted with this critter brush. We won't go into the details of the animals. But when I first met John, it was, when were you here and did that tasting? 10 years ago?
It's got to be, a bit over 10 years ago.
We tasted the 1960, remember the vintage, 61, 62, Penfolds Bin 60, Shiraz, Grenache,
Shiraz Mataro?
Shiraz Mataro.
The Bin 2?
The Bin 2, sorry,
Yeah.
Bin 2.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. And I bought a case and we sold it. And so what I'm saying to you is Australian wines have the capability of aging. They have terroir flavors, like I've always promoted when I buy a lot of French wines. But you didn't tune in to listen to me. John, you want to explain, because Australian wines were getting to 15, 16%, and these wines are far more refined. So explain to our audience what the hell happened to Australian wines over the last several years.
Well, I think in many cases we're a victim of our own success. I mean, the distribution of Australian wine increased dramatically in many parts of the world, and look, that's not a bad thing. I think the thing that's happened though is that we've forgotten to tell everyone about the diversity, the regionality, the quality of our wines. So I think that's the message that's getting through now, and that's the direction of what we're trying to do in terms of putting on tastings, immersion programs, getting to opinion makers, and just reminding everyone about the diversity, the age of our vines. I mean, the Barossa Valley has the oldest Shiraz vines, or Syrah vines, same variety, different parts of the world. In Europe it's Syrah, Shiraz in Australia. We have the oldest vines in the world in the Barossa. We have the oldest Cabernet vineyard in the world in the Barossa Valley. It's actually in the Penfolds Block 42 vineyard. So, and we have this incredible number of very old vineyards of Shiraz, Grenache, Mourvedre in the Barossa. So there's all this going on, but not a lot of people know about it.
It's exactly, and Australians are great storytellers, but here's what they didn't do. Whereas the French quantified it in 1932 with the AOC laws, the Australians said, bugger this, they're free enterprise, free spirit, I've got old vines, I'm going to make my wine. But there is regional identity in Australia. Let's talk Barossa, because we're talking Barossa. There's Marananga, there's Ebenezer, there's Eden Valley. What else is there?
Stockwell, Light Pass, etc. There's a lot of different regions, and I mean, there's landforms in the Barossa that are over 200 million years of age, and there's some geological difference as well. And we're just starting to get a bit of a handle on that, so we can tell the story. I mean, there is so much diversity, and terroir exists. It does.
Oh, absolutely exists. I mean, I was in Australia 10 years ago, and I was blown away. I mean, just the hardiness of the people to be shipped out there 150 years ago and then having to make a living in that unforgiven area. It's pretty impressive. But Mark, what do you find teaching? I mean, what do the neophytes in the schools, in the WSET, what do they know about Australian wines, especially stuff like this?
Well, the exposure to fine wines is definitely pretty limited, I would say, John.
Yeah. It's a real pity, because there's some absolutely stunning wine, like Lake's Folly, as an example, or Tony Brady at Wendouree. His wines are legendary, and you never see them here. And it's a true pity.
That's a good point. I don't think you can. I don't think there is. Or it's very difficult to find a Hunter Valley Semillon, for instance.
We had some Tyrrells, and it's like it's sat because no one buys it. But anyway, it was very frustrating. But I think there's a renaissance coming. So let's talk about this Barossa Valley. It's a blend of Shiraz, Grenache, Mourvedre, and it is, I mean, it's rocking. It's great. Tell us about it.
It's a blend of, it's in the GSM category, but I actually make a Shiraz Grenache Mourvedre blend. This is the 2006 vintage, 52% Shiraz, 30% Grenache, and 18% Mourvedre. All the Grenache and Mourvedre are off old bush vines, some over 100 years old, and just the benefit of having these old vineyards, dry grown, small yields, concentrated flavours. And my style is a more elegant expression, so I want these old vineyards to speak for themselves in an elegant fashion. My winemaking retain a little bit more natural acidity, so the wines are vibrant, and it really does show up the old vine character. It really will.
You pick early to keep the freshness in the wine. You know, when you go, for me, fresh is really important. Cleanses the palate, doesn't fatigue your palate, gets it ready for the next sip of wine. I mean, I love the freshness in this wine. It's, don't get me wrong, it's, you know, it's got power, but it's got restrained power. It's got elegance, and it's delicious wine. Go ahead.
I'd like to ask John, would you say there's a movement towards a more elegant, fresher style, just generally within the Barossa? Or
absolutely, yeah, I think so. Look, you're going to get a variety of styles, so people are really pushing the envelope in terms of ripeness as well. But there's more and more people looking at more elegant expression from these great old vineyards, and probably there's more people using French oak as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the Barossa.
Delicious.
Oh, it's wickedly good. You poured too much for yourself. Okay. There you go.
Well, this is the 2006 vintage of Entity. It's 100% Shiraz. It's made in that sort of more blackberry, blueberry style of Shiraz and aged in about 30% new fine-grained French oak. It really does sing in terms of what the Barossa can do well, that great expression of structured Shiraz but still not over the top, blackberry, blueberry, bit of spice, lovely integration. 2006, you know, it's 4 years old now, so it's nicely together. It's got restrained power, plenty of tannin there, but not harsh or aggressive.
This will go another 15 years, easily. Easily. This is delicious wine. Now, the fruit's sourced from a variety of different plots in the Barossa, some warmer, some cooler.
Well, it's mainly the northern part of the Barossa Valley,
okay.
mainly areas like Maranenga, Greenock, Ebenezer, Stockwell, Light Pass.
Okay.
Swing around the northern part of the Barossa.
Understood.
Yeah.
Is that Maranenga close to where Seppeltsfield is too, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to change this up just a little bit. One of the great wine experiences of my life was going to Australia, going down that road and then turning that corner and seeing the palm trees and going to Seppeltsfield and meeting James Godfrey and having a tour and seeing barrels of wine back from Queen Victoria that he's still making. Anyway, fabulous stuff. I mean, history.
History. I mean, it's the only winery in the world that has consecutive vintages in barrel since 1878 of this is a Tawny style fortified.
Yep.
Made from the grapes on the estate, and I mean the vision of all that time ago to set up a system like that. And you can buy every year. You can buy a 100-year-old.
They sell it every year. It's I think $500 a bottle. Okay. Our 25th year in business is next year, but when it was our 20th, I phoned James up and I said, I want to do a tawny port, 20-year vintage. He blended it. We still have it in the store. But there was these pictures, because there's no electricity back then. There's these pictures of these guys with wheelbarrows, and their forearms were bigger than my biceps, and just these huge barrel-chested guys. All, you know, again, everything was manual. These guys were. It was absolutely impressive. If you have a chance to go, you have to go. It's absolutely brilliant. Anyway, sorry, I had to get that in because it was magnificent. I've been to Mutai, I've been to all these places. This was by far. I'd go back there in a second.
Fantastic.
The last wine. Explain it to us.
Last one, Oligo. Oligo is a Latin word meaning to pick out, select or choose the best. Excuse me, which describes the process because it's not a barrel selection from Entity, the last Shiraz. It's actually a vineyard selection. So I walk up and down the rows of my top Shiraz vineyards, and if there's small sections within these great Shiraz vineyards that I like the the flavour or the skin texture. I'll pick those small sections separately vinify, then put the best blend for the vintage together. So it's the best of the best. So it's about its intensity, its structure, and its texture on the palate too.
This is truly magnificent. I mean, I knew, and I still know that Australia makes great Shirazes without having to get 16% alcohol. I mean, this is just magnificent stuff. It's balanced. It's just beautiful. I spoke to my friend Kathy on the phone today, and we talked about doing a really interesting tasting with small family boutique Australian producers in the new year. John Duval Wines, Charlie Melton, Rockford, a few other ones. If I can get some Lakes Folly, if I can sneak in some Wendouree, I know how to get some. And a few other ones to show what these wines are like. And what we're going to do is we're going to get some older bottles shipped up, stuff from maybe the 60s or 70s. So we have a comparison. And it's not going to be, again, full contact Gordie Howe wine tasting where you have 500 people. It's going to be, properly done. So you'd be able to taste the wines and understand that, yes, these wines can age and they're worth the investment. Quickly, this is about 50, 54, and 109. Right, Andrea?
Right.
John? Awesome.
Pleasure. Good to catch up again, John.
Mark?
Yeah, cheers, John.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Mark.
Cheers, John.
Thanks.
Thanks for this. This is truly a pleasure. You got to taste these wines. They're absolutely kick-ass. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.